There's always something new to buy. There's always something you need to do to accomplish. There's always a new person you need to be. But the reality is that if you let it flow and you are pursuing life with your whole chest, as the kids are saying these days, you will actually just allow things to happen for you without having to control or over-engineer them. Welcome to Old Money, a show dedicated to helping you build the trust fund you wish you were born with. Ladies who lunch, listen up. Life is not about looking rich. I want you to build a life and a legacy that feels rich in every sense of the word. If you're ready to stack cash, talk shop, and trade insider secrets, you're in the right place. These are the new rules to Old Money, so let's get after it. Hello, rich girls. Welcome back to Old Money, the podcast for women building the trust funds they wish they were born with. I'm your host, Amber Frankusen, and we are here with one of our final episodes of the year. This was one of your favorite episodes from 2023. I heard from so many of you after I released this episode last year, and I was so excited and looking forward to doing it again. So we're here. It's not just an end of year expansion exercise. We're also just spilling the tea on me. I'm going through my annual recap where I'm reflecting on the last 12 months of time, but I use the same questions year after year after year. I love doing this exercise. I'm going to get into why it works and why you should do it yourself before you plan for next year. But this is interesting because it's kind of the juiciest behind the scenes episode about me and like what's really going on. We talked a little bit more about my life this year, but I never really know how much you guys want to know about me versus you want to know about finance or old money lifestyle or whatever it is. This one is just focusing on like what happened in my year. However, it's the juiciest episode because I'm going to give you my spending breakdown. I'm going to tell you exactly where all my money went this year. And it's really important because it's something that I've tracked every single year. It's one of the biggest reflections to help me with my personal finance. And we'll talk about how it impacts you as well. Anyway, yeah, the episode's about me. I'm going to give you all the answers to the questions that I have been answering for the last 6 or 7 years. I follow the same questions every year because I always want to be using the same metrics or measurement tools to reflect. And when I look back at how I answered these questions 6 years ago, I'm legitimately a different person. And I think it's really interesting to frame that growth and just seeing the quality of my answers to the same questions improve year after year after year. So if you're new here, by the way, welcome. Hello. We have so many new listeners. I'm so happy that you found us here on Old Money. But I will give you these questions in the Old Money Country Club. I'll drop them in there on the day this episode drops so that you can answer the questions and do your own reflection year after year as well. Old Money Country Club is a private online community. It is free to join for any rich girls or rich guys. And essentially, it's a great place to go network and find other people who are striving to improve their financial situations, who love the old money lifestyle, and are interested in empowering and bettering themselves. It's also where all of my courses or classes or networking events virtually will be held. So you can get there by going to oldmoneypodcast.com/resources. And there is a link to the Old Money Podcast right there. Anyway, I will put the questions there for you, as I said. And as I was getting to, if you're new here, I discussed this last year in my 2023 end of year episode. And I actually came across something this year, just this month actually, that made this so much more potent and so much more relevant for me. And you've heard me talk about this guy before, but I think he's my new boyfriend, Dan Sullivan. He's the author of 10X is Easier Than 2X. And I got to this place in the book and I had to share it with you guys because it is exactly why, and I didn't even know this, it's exactly why I've been doing this process and why it's helped me so much for the last couple of years. He perfectly sums it up in that book. He says that there are 2 types of people in the world: those who live in the gap and those who live in the gain. Those who live in the gap measure themselves against where they believe they could or should be. So essentially, you are saying, I have these goals. I want to be getting these goals, but you're always striving in a state of striving towards those goals. I think this also can relate a lot to people who are looking outside of themselves or at other people or other benchmarks, comparing themselves to people that they went to college with on social media because your life looks different than them or what you thought it was going to look like in your head, right? And there's nothing wrong with having goals or ideals, but they can become problematic when it's the only barometer that you're using for self-worth. Because as he says, ideals are like horizons. They can provide direction, but you can never really reach them, right? You can never walk into the horizon. You're always walking towards the horizon. You're always walking towards your goals. If you are a high achiever, you are likely creating goals as you achieve them all the time. So you always have goals. So you're always in this state of gap. You're not where you want to be, where you think you should be, where you believe you should be. Alternatively, the other type of person, remember, those that live in the gap and those that live in the gain, those who live in the gain are measuring themselves from where they started. So instead of constantly feeling stressed out about not being their future self, they're always feeling more than their past self. This is an appreciating rather than depreciating mindset, which means those in the gain are viewing life as happening for them, not against them. It's just immediately expansive and totally abundant. Instead of thinking about what you don't have yet, you're thinking about all of the things you've gained along your journey. And I don't know what your starting point is. Maybe your starting point is when you left that relationship, when you started your business, when you graduated from college. Regardless of what that starting point is for you in your head, when you were 10, I don't know, you have gained so much knowledge, wisdom, experience, money, resources, relationships, the whole way, right? So that is why looking backward is actually so important. In the context of the book, what they're talking about, remember, it's called 10x is easier than 2x. They're talking about if you want to go 10x, when you think about trying to do that, it can feel really overwhelming and impossible. But if you take a look back, you can probably find some instances where you've made huge shifts in your life, where you have already achieved a 10x goal. I have a ton of them, and they certainly didn't feel like them at the time. They often felt very painful or weird or experimental. But looking back for me, leaving a bad relationship, literally, it was like the final straw at a Padres game. I put him in an Uber and literally never talked to him again after we had dated on and off for years. Literally never talked to him again. That changed the total trajectory of my life. I set a standard. I was like, I am done with this type of relationship, with this type of man, with this type of lifestyle. And my life was never the same. It 10x'd my quality of relationships after I made that one decision. Or the first time I saved $10,000 in 6 months, I had like set a very, very challenging goal for myself at the time. This was so many years ago. I was like, I'm giving myself 6 months to save 10K. And then I did it. And I was like, wow, that was actually like exciting and fun and a great challenge. And it was because I took that first step that I was then able to, as I was exiting my corporate career, really buckle down and save $30,000 in 9 months so that I could leave my company and start my own. It's not what I was intending to do. I thought I was going to leave that company and take a break and like take a vacation, but I saved $33,000 in 9 months so that I could take care of myself. I made a conscious effort to do that. But I wouldn't have had the confidence to know that I could if I hadn't saved that first 10K in 6 months. You see where I'm going with this? So that was a 10X moment for me because all of a sudden I was like, I've got the confidence, I can do it. I think other ways that you could have 10X'd in your life or made big changes are changing jobs or moving homes, like these big moves that kind of shake everything up. Or it could just be a bunch of little things that you've done over the years. Like, I don't know, think about where you used to live in your 20s. I used to live in like a literal dilapidated apartment. Granted, it was right on the best beach in all of San Diego with 2 other girls, and there was 3 boys that lived right above us. It was an actual party situation 100% of the time. I would come home from work and there would be like a boy in my cupboard eating my Cheez-Its, and I'd be like, you do not live here. Like, please go away. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to look back and see how far you've come. And like, now I have air conditioning and a heater, which is like unthinkable when you're in your 20s living by the beach in San Diego. Nobody has air conditioning or a heater or a washer and dryer or indoor, outdoor living. All of these things that I wanted so badly when I was in my 20s, I have them now. Or I don't know, like, what about an old car that you have? My very first car when I was 16 was an Isuzu Rodeo. That's right. Those don't even exist anymore. I don't even know if that's a car company still. But to start the car, I had to literally lift the cover above the steering wheel, like where the steering column was, and I have to stick my fingers in there and wiggle around some wires so I could jam my key in and then try to get it to start. A lot of times it did not even start. I got stranded places all the time. It also burned through like a quart of oil in a week. So I was always going to Walmart to stock up on more oil that I would sit in the back of my car and I would have to pour more oil literally in my high school parking lot, you guys. Now I drive my dream car. Couldn't be happier with my dream car. It's safe, it's fast, it's efficient. It looks exactly like I want it to look. I'm obsessed with her. But I used to drive an Isuzu Rodeo. So if I didn't have appreciation for how far that I've come and I'm just like, damn, I don't have an Aston Martin, I'm gonna be really hard on myself. I'm gonna be really stressed about trying to get that Aston Martin. I want that Aston Martin so badly. I'm not at Aston Martin level yet. That's okay with me. I'm at a very nice, very wonderful luxury car level. And I have no complaints about. And I also think Aston Martin, the brand, is kind of aging. I think that's a good car for when you're in your 50s. I'm just not there yet. I just think it ages you. Kind of like, I'm going to say something so controversial right now. Sidebar, hot take. I think wearing a Birkin, especially like a Birkin 30 or 35, when you're my age, kind of ages you a little bit. They're kind of for a different time in your life. Do you know what I'm saying? That's how I feel about Aston Martins too. Let me know if I'm crazy about this. I think about brands way too often. And I definitely think certain brands age you and certain brands can make you look younger, but that's another conversation. Anyway, like I'm saying, it might be the accumulation of 100 little mini actions over the years, all these little steps. Right now, I'm sitting in my home office. I'm so happy that I get to work mostly remote. And I started my business on an ironing board. That was my first desk. And since then, I've worked at co-working spots and in my dream office with floor to ceiling corner windows in downtown San Diego. I was obsessed with it. And then I didn't like it anymore. Now I have a mini office in Little Italy. And now I'm home in my office and I love it. You know what I'm saying? Like my first desk was an actual ironing board. I didn't have money for a desk. And it was a million little steps and they all looked different. And there was no roadmap. But here I am with a business that supports me financially and the many people that work for us. So things are good, right? But if I was living in the gap, I was like, damn, I want to have a Jeff Bezos business. I want to be the next Elon Musk. I don't want either of those things, by the way. But like if I was always living in the gap, I'm going to feel like I have so much more to achieve. I'm going to feel like bereft, right? You hit the goal and then there's another one. I always say there's always going to be someone with a bigger yacht. You're never going to be satisfied. So you have to find the balance between living in the gain while also having goals. And living in the gain is why this reflection exercise is so important to do. I do it annually and you'll recognize if you do it over and over. And I don't think about this throughout the year. It's just like on my calendar, it pops up. I know I'm going to do it. You will recognize you have made so much growth every single year. And then if you look back at the answers that you had 5 years ago, you're going to be amazed, right? The way you're living now probably doesn't look anything like it did 10 years ago. I hope it's better than you imagined. And I hope that doing this exercise and looking back and reflecting on how far you come gives you the faith in setting your goals for the next 10 years that you're not even going to recognize yourself in 10 more years. I don't recognize myself today versus when I was 25. Now I'm confident that when I'm 45, I don't know her yet. I'm always envisioning my future self, but I just don't know her yet. She's going to be better than I can even imagine. And I can tell myself that with so much confidence because that's how it's been for the last 10, 12 years for me. So stop reprimanding yourself for what you haven't achieved yet and start thinking about what you have achieved before you start to dream. There's also this great Tony Robbins quote. It's something along the lines of humans greatly overestimate how much they can accomplish in a year and they underestimate how much they can do in 10. We had our neighbors over last night and somebody was saying, it's crazy how quickly things can change in your life in 5 years. You could be single right now, and within the span of 5 years, you could go on a first date, date that person, get engaged, get married, get pregnant, have a baby in the span of 5 years. You could have a completely new identity in the next 5 years if that's the path that you're on, which is crazy because it's just part of that season that we're in right now, I think a lot of us listening in our 20s, 30s, 40s, like we're in this season of kind of rapid change. And what's interesting is that this whole concept of end of year, New Year's, New Year goals, like there's so much pressure around what are you doing in January to like be a whole new person. I don't know if you're like me, where I'm scrolling TikTok at like 11 o'clock at night, not sleeping when I should be. And I'm like, I need to be a completely different person tomorrow. I need a new face and I need to do all these different chores and habit stacking and like all these products. I need to buy them. That is marketing working on us so well. And we're getting marketed to by everybody on TikTok that's on their own channel. Everybody's selling you something. They want your attention. They want you to buy their things. And we get this idea from all of these inputs that we're always going to be in the gap. Like there's always something new to buy. There's always something you need to do to accomplish. There's always a new person you need to be. But the reality is that if you let it flow and you are pursuing life with your whole chest, as the kids are saying these days, you will actually just allow things to happen for you without having to control or over-engineer them. And I don't know if you're like me, you might have a 5-year plan that takes you 8 years, whatever. Okay, you achieved those goals, you're on the path, but don't beat yourself up because it took you 8 years instead of 5. Or maybe you had a revenue goal in your business and you're like, damn, I missed it by $100,000. I'm a failure. I only made $900,000 this year. If you are thinking that way, you're forgetting the fact that you created $900,000 worth of revenue of services to people. That's incredible. My point is that perspective is your friend, and these time intervals are completely arbitrary. So the more that we can look at things from a bigger perspective, whether you're going back to looking for the last 10 years, 20 years, since you graduated college, whatever it is, if you look at things from a bigger perspective and how far you've come from the Isuzu rodeo, from the beach apartment, whatever that is in your life, and you take that snapshot of your timeline and then tack it on to from now until the future, girl, like who knows how good things can get. So I love this exercise because it helps me reflect on not just this year, but year after year, all of the compounding interest of the effort of my life, of all of the things that I'm building, while being in such a state of abundance and gratitude. And that is the best place to be when you're manifesting what to do next. If you are already saying, thank you, universe, thank you, universe, thank you, universe, the universe is like, cool, here's more, cool, here's more. But if you're like, I don't have enough, I need these things, everything feels harder and desperate and panicked. And I just can't emphasize it enough. I would love for you to do this exercise. Again, all the questions are for you in the Old Money Country Club. Do this journaling exercise. Let me know what comes up for you and release expectations that it all has to be good, because this is not going to be a total bummer, by the way, but there are some things that happened in my life this year that rocked me and destroyed me. And here I am at the end of this year, healing, not healed, but like on my way. Let's focus on what did happen instead of focusing on what didn't. There's some questions like that in here. We'll get to it. But before we do it, let's just talk about what happened in the world this year. Do you guys remember getting your yearbook? And at the end, it has this page that's like, what happened in 2002? And it's like, TRL is the biggest show. That's what I want in my life every year. Cause I was thinking like, what even happened this year? The kids are out there saying Skibbity Ohio Riz, that's going to make it into a yearbook somewhere. And that's just so cringe. But let's talk about what actually happened out there. First of all, we got through an election year. Regardless of what side of the fence you fall on, an election year and the media, it causes a ton of anxiety, a ton of fear, because no matter what side you're on, you're fearful that you're going to lose. It is really, really dysregulating. It causes a lot of fight or flight. And a lot of us, even just having the media on, whether you were freaked out by the fact that there was a couple of assassination attempts on an incoming candidate, or the fact that our actual president, poor Joe, like somebody get him a nap. I'm worried about him. Do you know what I'm saying? Either way, there's stuff to worry about, and being bombarded with it all the time is so gnarly. In fact, that just reminded me, Megan, who's one of our rich girls, she is a fractional CFO bookkeeper. If you need her, please let me know. I'll connect you guys. But she posted something so interesting. I forget exactly what it was, but I responded to her Instagram story. She's like, reminding myself that I got more done before 10 a.m. than my ancestors would get done in a week. And I was like, damn, that hits, right? Because so much happens on a day-to-day basis. We take in so much information. We do so much. It's actually insane when you stop to think about it. So when you think about this year, Taylor Swift went on the Eras tour, finished it, crazy. Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, like the pop culture things are gnarly. We had high body count hair this year if you're watching Salt Lake City, which another sidebar, I'm sorry. Some of you guys out there are watching Harry Potter every single year because it feels holiday. And I get that. It's always on ABC Family, or that doesn't even exist anymore, but I get it. It's a holiday thing. But when I tell you that I just started watching Real Housewives of Salt Lake City from season 1 because I had never watched it, it is the ultimate holiday watch. It's snowy, it's cozy. There's chateaus, there's ski trips, there's everything outdoors. I'm obsessed with watching it. I've had it on in the background of a party that I had the other day, and it was just on mute because the vibes are immaculate. It's just amazing. So if you need vibes instead of that YouTube holiday Yule log, like put on some Housewives of Salt Lake City season 1. You won't regret it. Anyway, we got through an election year. Taylor Swift is dating Travis Kelce. I don't know what else happened in pop culture, but I do know what happened in the economy. So if we look at the S&P return in just 2024, at the time of this recording, which is like mid-December, the annualized return for the S&P 500 is 26.86%. That is insane. Typically when we're making, conservative investment predictions, like when you're doing a calculator for your retirement, you're assuming 8 to 10% year over year. So 26.86 this year, 24.23 last year. In the year prior to that, it was a negative 19% growth. However, the year before that, we had 26.89%. So when we look at it in the last 5 years, you're seeing a return of 92%. 92% over the last 5 years, which is an annualized return of about 14%. That is insane. Just as a reminder, the S&P 500 tracks the 500 largest companies in the United States in an index, and then you buy shares of this index fund, and it's tracking all the big companies. Now, a lot of the movement in the S&P 500 has to do with the Magnificent Seven, which can contribute up to 60% of the S&P's return year over year, which is nuts. The Magnificent Seven are 7 stocks. They're like the biggest ones, right? Alphabet, which is Google, Amazon, Apple, Meta, which is Facebook, Microsoft, Nvidia, and Tesla. So, Tesla's through the roof. Nvidia had a crazy run this year. Everything else is continuing to grow. So it's crazy when we think about 2024 year in review. If you've been investing in index funds, go back to our Investing Made Easy episode. I don't know what number it is, but we'll link it in the show notes. You need to be looking at index funds, y'all. Like, this is not investment advice, but as I look backwards to see how I can look forwards, I'm seeing some trends over the past, 50 years that are pretty interesting to look into. That's all I'm going to say. Also, if we talk about returns in Bitcoin, obviously Bitcoin's at all-time highs. It's finally broken 100,000. And what's the opportunity in Bitcoin? I don't know. This is not investment advice, but it looks like a lot of institutional investors, so we're talking about the big companies that manage trillions of dollars of their clients' money, have not invested in Bitcoin yet. And there's a lot of investors that are interested in diversifying into Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a limited resource. There's only so much supply. There's a lot of money that hasn't moved into it yet. What happens when more people buy limited supply? The price goes up. So that's not investment advice. That's just economics. So when I'm looking at what happened with Bitcoin, I'm looking at what happened with the S&P. I'm really interested in monitoring it and saying, okay, that's what happened this year so far. And now, obviously, a lot of what's happening in the world and the economy can affect us, but let's take it micro for a moment. We're going to go into the first question of this series, which is, what happened for me? The first question is, what did you do in 2024 that you'd never done before? This is my peak and pit of the year, my rose and thorn, all the things, right? I was engaged this year. We got engaged actually in 2023 at the end of the year, right before Christmas. So I was engaged all year, and that's a first for me. And it was a really amazing, expansive year for Justin and I. We had a lot of growth, a lot to navigate. And I'm really excited for 2025. I knew we were going to have a long engagement, but now we're starting to put the plans together. to figure out how we're actually going to get married. More on that later. But being in a state of engagement is just such a special time because it's really only one time if you're getting married once. And it's a short amount of time. I still can't get the word fiance to like roll off the tongue. I feel so awkward saying it. So I still call Justin my boyfriend. I think I'll probably always call him my boyfriend if we're being honest. But that was a big thing for me this year and definitely a peak. My pit. And if you listen to some of the episodes earlier this year around June and July, I got a little bit into this and sharing what was going on with me on a personal level. But I lost my best friend this year. She passed away in June. And I don't know that I'll ever fully recover from that, but I am now able to talk about it without losing my shit and crying. And it's interesting. It's more so, and I realized this later, I'm not even crying for my loss. Like I'm crying for her grandmother, her mother, her sister, her goddaughter, her niece. You know what I'm saying? All the people that lost this amazing, wonderful soul of a human being. And she's still like on the favorites of my phone because I just would call her, we'd talk on the phone every single day. And this year was a big year for me to really reprogram and rework through some old beliefs I had about my mental health. And I definitely skewed depressive when I was in my teenage and 20s years. So already skewing that way and then going through something that's acutely so painful and so much grief on top of another issue that I'm having that I can't speak about publicly, but there's a whole nother thing in my life that's also causing me a lot of grief. But I really struggled with my mental health this year. I thought I could always talk it out or find some natural remedy or go into a cold plunge and figure it out. But I got some help this year with antidepressants. And I'm telling you, always being a natural girly, like thinking I can just get over a cold on my own with some tea and some honey, it was a big mindset shift for me. And I'm so glad that I got the help and support that I needed instead of suffering. When I used to talk to my friend when she was going through chemotherapy and she was like, I'm so tweaked out from all the drugs they're giving me, I feel crazy. I used to always tell her, there's no glory in suffering. Take the pain medication. Take the pain medication. Make yourself comfortable. And I never allowed that for myself. And so this year was the first time that I got some help with that. And I'm so grateful that I did because it was an incredibly impactful loss to me. And I needed support and I needed my damn ego to get out of the way. So I've recalibrated. I've done a lot of healing this year. We'll talk about that when we get to my budget breakdown, but I'm coming back. I'm definitely coming back. So that was something that was very new for me this year and very impactful in my life. And another thing that I've been doing this year that I've never done before is hypnosis. And we're going to talk to my hypnotist in early 2025. I cannot wait for you to meet her. She has made such a positive impact in my life in ways I cannot even explain. Oh, we're going to get into that later too. But just to kind of close it out on my 2024, what did I do this year that I never had done before? It was really living. I mean, living, loving, losing people, being human, feeling feelings. Man, it was fucking raw. It was really tough at times, and I came out the other end. So if you are going through it right now, I just want you to know the page will turn. It does feel horrible when you're in it. And I'm sending you, if you need it, comfort and light and inspiration and resilience and joy and love. But you are worthy of living the life that you desire. But fully living does not mean avoiding negative feelings. Being old money, living your old money lifestyle does not mean that you're never going to feel pain. And the way that we get through pain is that we take care of each other, we take care of ourselves, and we honor the people that we can. Like I want to shout out to my girl, Susie. I want to honor her. And she was just my ride or die or my spiritual running buddy. I miss her so much, but she would be so fucking proud. I know she's listening to Old Money wherever she is right now. She's like, oh girl, shout out. She is the Beyonce of my life. I will miss her forever. But the best thing I can do to honor her is to live out her best qualities of being super present with her friends, always being everybody's hype woman, giving people her full attention, being so fucking funny and sarcastic. And so that is the goal. That is the lesson. So 2024 was pretty painful for me at times. And sometimes it still does feel tender. So if you're out there and you're feeling tender, I'm sending you a big hug. I love you so much and we'll get through it. let's go back to something a little bit more positive. Let's talk about casting for the future and what I did in 2024. So the next question is, did you keep your New Year's resolutions or did you meet your goals? And will you make more for next year? So my goals for 2024 were to do some month-long challenges. I thought I was going to do a month-long challenge every single month. I didn't do that, but I did do some things. Like I did a dry January and I did 30 days of NAD injections, which was cool, but I wouldn't do it again. The NAD injections, not the dry January. February and also July/August, I took breaks from caffeine and stopped drinking coffee, which is a good reset for me. And then I did no spend September. So that was also good for me as well. I did have revenue goals and profit goals for the business, but I did not hit them this year. They were definitely 10x goals for me. But the reality was that I needed to take care of myself. The first half of the year, I was in full on survival mode. I just basically took off half the year from selling. I let it ride with our clients. I didn't try to sell. I wasn't going out there and like pushing things. And it was probably the best thing that I could have done because I didn't fill the pipeline with clients that I knew I could get that would be lower paying clients. I kind of let things breathe for a while so that I could realign and get aligned with clients that were more ideal for us. So it actually worked out for the better. And we had a lot of client attrition this year because we did raise our prices on some of our services, but also because I'm willing to say now, like, I don't think we're good partners. We've had that for a couple people. I'm like, I don't want this dynamic anymore. Good luck to you type of a thing. So my goals for 2025 are totally in line with that because my goal is to keep everything easy and fun. Easy and fun. My goal is to get married and have it be easy and fun. I want to have the best time celebrating our love without drama and make it easy and fun. I know that we are ready to move out of our place into a new place. We're outgrowing it here. And I want that process to be easy and fun. And it's up to me to create the mindset and the beliefs and the ideas that things can be easy and fun and that I can make that happen for myself. So my year this year, as I look forward, I'm not really trying to hit any crazy milestone. I know there will be growth. I expect growth in my business. I know it's coming. It always does every single year. But I just want to celebrate. I want things to be easy and fun. I want to have more time after work to like go to a little cafe. We went on that trip to Vegas this year. I was there for a conference. And then after work, it was like, what do we want to go do in Vegas? How fun. Why are we not doing that in San Diego? You know what I mean? Like going out, exploring new places on a Tuesday, whatever. Let's do it. Just walking around and celebrating. I want things to be easy and fun. In addition, a couple other mini goals that I have are I want to continue to work on my vocabulary. One of the great things that I get to do for my job is name buildings and projects. And I just need to expand my vocabulary more. I can't even say the word, how embarrassing. Vocabulary more so that I have more linguistic ideas in my head. So I got a little vocabulary app and I've been doing a couple words of the day every day. I love it. I get to heart the ones that I like and I get to flag the ones that I want to try to memorize. I'm kind of obsessed. And I also want to get back into reading for pleasure because I've had all these business books stacked up, all these money books. I've been reading for the nonfiction side of things. I've been reading a lot and I'm just toasted. I'm tired of reading nonfiction. I'm tired of reading a book that almost gets my heart rate up as I'm falling asleep because I'm like, oh, I have to do that in my business. Oh, I have to implement that. Like, let me make a note of it. I need to read for pleasure. So I'm getting back into, I'm going to start with some easy thrillers. You know how those like suck you in? That's going to be my goal is to read a lot over my Christmas break. And then for the business books that I need to read, I'm back to Blinkist. If we haven't talked about Blinkist yet, I'm sorry that I've been holding out on you, but it is my favorite hack. It's a subscription. They're doing a Christmas special or end of year special right now. I think that you can get 50% off. I just signed up with 50% off. So it's $60 for the year. And it basically gives you Cliff's Notes of all of these business books like Atomic Habits or 10X is easier than 2X, all those different books that you've been putting off that you're like, I need to read them. Just do the Blinkist because it gives you 25-minute podcast-based or audiobook-based summary that goes through all the main ideals of the book. I need to reach out to them and they need to be a sponsor. I'm obsessed with Blinkist. So Blinkist is it. Go get Blinkist. I highly co-sign. The next question on the list was, what is your biggest achievement of the year? I think my biggest achievement this year is really exhibiting healthy leadership and understanding what that means in my role as the leader at my agency. I'm everything from setting expectations, being very clear about them, and upholding them so that our clients are very well cared for, that I am cared for, that all of our team members are cared for. There's been a lot of really hard conversations this year, and I've been able to navigate them, I believe, with a lot of grace and allow things to, allow the cookie to crumble how the cookie's going to crumble type of a thing without being overly controlling about it, but owning the way that I want my business to run because it's the way that I want my business to run. I want my business to run efficiently and lean and light. You know what I'm saying? And I don't mean that with less people. I mean like light energy. Like I want us all to be good and accountable and taken care of and respectful. Do you know what I'm saying? So that was a big one for me. The other thing that was huge for me was going through cash consciousness in September. And doing a no spend month was a huge reset for me. It was a mindset reset. And doing all the research that I did for that, and then how it kind of spiraled out of control, and then launching Cash Consciousness 2.0, which is going to come back in January. We're going to start together. It culminates with money dates with my huge budgeting template, which we're going to talk about in just a second here. But staying consistent with that, staying consistent with old money, and exercising my creativity, not just in doing these shows, but talking about what I'm passionate about and finding you, my community that's out there that also cares and loves these things. Incredible. I think back to my middle school self that felt like I'm never going to find people like me. I'm never going to find anyone that cares about what I care about and I can really be myself with. And that makes me emotional. Like I am being fully me of weird and into money and spreadsheets and numbers and achievement and self-improvement and also the spiritual woo-woo hypnosis and then also the neuroscience of it all. I am all of the weirdness that I am. Here is this community that's just shown up, and I hope that it gives you all a permission slip too to be your own brand of weird because it's been the best gift for me. So just continuing to be on this podcast and create community with you all is absolutely my biggest achievement of this year. The next question is, what was your biggest failure of this year? I had 3 huge work failures this year. One of them was paid. I paid somebody to never speak to me again, essentially, is all I can really say about that because of legal reasons. Number 2 was a client that I ignored the red flags for. I got really bad vibes, but I still pursued them because I was like, this will be such an easy way to make good money in such a short time. And then they were just not nice at all. Oh my God, I have an update for you guys. I talked about this a few months ago. I totally forgot. And anyway, we got through all of this courtship. I put so much work into like creating scopes for them and initial ideas and giving them so much free strategy and direction. And then they asked me to change my contract terms and I refused. And they said, fuck you, basically. And I was like, okay, thanks a lot. I got a call from somebody that I have no idea who they are. They're like, Amber, it's so-and-so. I met you 5 years ago when you worked for blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, hey, what's up? And I don't know who this person is still. And he's like, hey, I've got a client. They need some major help with marketing. So I called around. I got your name from so-and-so, a mutual friend of ours. And you were the first and only person that like 3 people said. And I was like, wow, that's so flattering. Who's the client? It was these people, you guys. It was the people that told me to fuck off because I wouldn't change my contract terms that needed my help, but they didn't know that this guy was calling me. And I was like, yeah, I don't think so. It's not going to work out. I'm not available. So the reason it's a failure for me is because I wasted so much time and energy working with these people and ignoring the red flags when I should have just been like, I know this is bad. You know what I'm saying? So that was a lesson learned. And then my number 3 failure was working so hard and over delivering for a huge developer. I did a project for them. They're like, let's double the scope. Let's do this more. Let's do that more. And I continued to allow scope creep to happen, meaning I gave them more and more and more than I was being paid for because I was thinking I was forging a new relationship, and they completely took advantage of it. And basically I overextended, and then we ended up with a contract cancellation. I said, I'm going to go ahead and have my attorney draft a letter of cancellation. They're like, oh, let's get on a call and talk about it one more time. I said, no, we need a new scope before I can move forward. And then they sent me a letter of cancellation. So that just kind of was like a slap in the face and just not good business, to be honest. And I did not like that. I'm glad that's over. But it definitely felt unsafe. It definitely felt like I was hitting upper limits. It definitely felt uncomfortable. It definitely required more boundaries. But the thing is I keep figuring it out. Do you know what I'm saying? Yes, there's weird feelings and hard conversations, but it was safe at the end of the day. I didn't align with some people, and that's totally fine. And now I'm on to people I'm super aligned with. Do you know what I'm saying? So it all worked out for a reason. I learned so much through going through those processes. I know better next time. But God, the first 5 years of business, you're like a toddler. I didn't know half the stuff I knew when I started my business 6 years ago. Now I just hit our 6 year anniversary. So, I mean, Jesus, I've grown so much. I know so much more now that I wish I would have known them, but that's just not how it works. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, there were definitely failures this year, but I survived. The next question is a four-parter. It says, compared to this time last year, are you happier, healthier, wealthier, more aligned with your goals? By the way, I made up these questions 7 years ago. I took inspiration from a couple of different people, but this one comes from Lori and Chris Harder, who I had one time heard say that they have a mantra they say every day when they wake up, which is, every day I am happier, healthier, and wealthier than I was the day before. And I love that mantra. It feels real good to me. So I put it into this little program. So for happier, yes, I'm definitely happier this year, this time, compared to this time last year, excuse me. Last year, this time I was a disaster. I was driving home from Northern California. I literally sobbed for 8 hours over my friend and knowing what was coming and how it was going and for her pain and suffering and all of the drama. It was definitely a very challenging time for me all through, November, December through about, I would say like September of this year, like really resetting. No, August. And I'll talk about that in a second. But I mean, my God, I'm so much happier now. I'm positive again. I'm back to my optimistic self. I feel like my spark is coming back, if you know what I mean. So yes, I'm definitely happier, not just more compared to this time last year, but I think compounding year over year. If I look back at the last 5 years, absolutely. Healthier, 100%. I'm working out with a new trainer and I'm so happy. She's so lovely. She's in San Diego. If you need a recommendation, she's incredible. But I've kind of just gone with this, just show up and the results will come. I don't overthink anything anymore. I'm not trying to overdo it. I'm working out in the gym, lifting heavy 2 hours per week and walking every single day, eating healthier, drinking more water. And I'm just showing up and knowing that the results will come. And I've been focusing this year on really lowering my inflammation. I have a lot of health issues and health markers, and I'm just not stressed about it. I'm not trying to do 50 pills a day. I'm just taking what feels enough for me. But I know I'm healthier because my blood work tells me so. I'm leaner than I was last year. I'm stronger than I was last year. I love that. Wealthier? Yes, I am much wealthier than I was last year. I don't know if you heard me at the top of the show about the S&P 500 and Bitcoin being at over 100K, but yes, I'm definitely much wealthier this year than last year. And am I more aligned with my goals? 100%. And I think one of the biggest pieces of that is that I'm finally feeling comfortable to voice what I want and need. And I didn't realize how much I held back on that before because I was afraid of offending or ruffling other people's feathers. Yet I would feel resentful or hold it in, or my vibe would change when I didn't get what I want, but I was unable to voice it. So I'm more aligned with my goals because I'm able to share about them more and motivate and inspire and get people to help me or support me in achieving them. I'm saying yes to more connections, more clients, different experiences. And I'm also okay with like fully opting out of things that I do not want to do or being late because I'm also recording a podcast. Like, okay, I'm doing all the things that I can. I'm not letting other people's expectations dictate how I run my life. Everything feels so much more relaxed because I'm able to achieve my goals. I know what my priorities are. Everybody's important to me. But when I communicate, I'm going to be recording my podcast and therefore I might be late, but it's still important for me that I see you. Can we adjust? Everybody's happy. So I don't feel resentful. I don't not record it. I just adjust and communicate. So yeah, I feel way more aligned this year. The next question is, what are you most proud of in this year? And for me, there's one thing that came to mind, which is all of my personal growth through therapy, hypnosis, learning how to trust myself more, really digging into those kind of underlying vulnerabilities of feeling like I have to do everything alone. I'm really still working through some of those limiting beliefs in hypnosis. And this is part of me speaking up for what I want and need, being neutral about it and getting the support or the help that I want. So that was one kind of category. But the other thing was I really did this 90-day timeline jump, as I called it. I was so sad after my friend passed, and I really struggled all through July when her service was. And at the end of July, I was like, I'm literally so tired of being sad. I've been sad for a year. I've been so sad for a year. I need to shake things up. I need to be on a new timeline in 90 days. And when I tell you, I have literally a journal entry here from November 7th, I was like, I'm a new person. I have made so many changes in my life in 90 days. It was incredible how much I accomplished. 90 days included that no spend September where I saved a ton of money, completely reset my habits again. I reallocated and like really started building more things for my life. It just felt incredible. Incredible. I was really focused on abundance. I was really focused on aligning with great new clients. I felt so much more hope and optimism. I really got my health back on track. I did random stuff like canceled my Sirius or canceled my Patreon subscriptions or pitched new people that I was afraid to pitch before. You know what I mean? Going through new venues. I just did so much within those 90 days because I was hyper focused. And it's kind of crazy because I thought, okay, after the holidays, I'll kind of rewind, but I created so much, or unwind rather. I created so much momentum during that 90 days that I'm still writing. And so I'm still busy. It's halfway through the month of December as I'm recording this right now. And I have still so much to do, but I don't feel pressed about it. I don't feel like I don't have enough time. I feel like I have plenty of time. I feel like I have support. I feel like I'm going to get it all done. I don't know. I just don't feel stressed. So I'm riding the wave of this momentum. I feel really good. It's easy and it's fun. That's the key, right? Okay, the next question. What would you like to have in 2025 that you lacked in 2024? Two things. Number one, more leadership support in my business. I texted my business coach that I used to work with a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to start working with her again for some more strategic guidance in 2025. So I'm really excited about that. And then also hiring more integrators or visionaries onto my team. So there's this concept in this book, Traction, the operating system, entrepreneurial operating system, which talks about three different roles on the team of any company, which are visionaries, integrators, and implementers. And I'm the visionary for the company. I see where I want it to go, the visionary for our clients, the big picture. And I have a lot of amazing team members that are implementers, that are following directions, doing the things, but I need integrators, people who can lead those implementers, lead the clients, can step into the visionary role for the clients when needed. So we are in hiring process right now. I'm very, very excited about it. The other thing is intentional design of how I want to feel. I really felt like I was whipsawed a lot in 2024 because I was under-resourced. I was exhausted, depleted, tired, grief-stricken, unhealthy at times. And when you are under-resourced or you do not feel your best, it's really hard for you to decide to be positive or decide to be optimistic or decide to be magnetic or seductive or romantic or abundant or whatever it is. We all know that we control our feelings, our emotions, and that's influenced by our beliefs, right? But the reality is that I was so under-resourced this year that I just didn't have it in me to even put any inch of effort towards how do I want to feel I get to choose to wake up today and be grateful. I didn't have it in me. And if you're out there and you're like, I didn't have it in me either, I get you, girl. It's hard to show up as the best version of yourself. It's hard to even think about manifesting the future you when you feel like shit, when you're in a dead-end job or a dead-end relationship, or you're just feeling yuck. So my goal this year is to intentionally design how I want to feel and then own that and know that I own that. The next question is, what dates from this year will you never forget? There are only two. It's the day that my best friend passed and the day that I spoke at her memorial service. Interestingly, when she passed, like within the hour that she passed, I was actually in Rome at the Trevi Fountain. I have all of these pictures in my phone that align with that same time when she passed based on the time zone, right? And I was making wishes for her at the Trevi Fountain, literally within the hour that she passed, and also making wishes for myself and my future. And it was just such an odd day and time and all the things. But I'm just so honored to have been a part of her life. I'm so honored that she asked me to speak at her memorial service. It was one of the hardest talks I've ever had to give. But those are the 2 days that will be burned into my memory forever. Switching gears again, sorry that I keep getting a little sad, but That's the reality. We're humans here. It's okay to be sad. We can't avoid negative emotions, sad emotions. Actually, sad emotions don't have to be negative. I'm learning this. They can just be sad emotions and it doesn't have to be a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, let's talk about money. The next question on this list, where did most of your money go? Now, if I had to guess, I would hazard a guess that many people listening to this show have no idea on a whole how much money they spent on everything in their life this year. However, I am a freak. So I have this crazy, amazing template that I've been using to track my spending, investing, saving, all the things for 4 years now. This what has changed my financial life. And this is what I'm giving to all of the women and men who join Cash Consciousness. This is the crux. This is the tool. This is the thing. This is the template. This is how I run my life. I run my life like a fucking CEO. I am a CEO of a business. But if you want to have an exceptional, profitable, wonderful, expansive life full of growth, you need to run your life like a CEO. And that means looking at your financial reports and understanding where your money is going. So here's my breakdown. This is what you have all been waiting for. Here we go. The number one thing that I spent money on this year, 28% of my income went to savings and investing. I did not save or invest much for the first few years of my business because I was barely scraping by. I was really building. So now I'm actually saving probably more than somebody my age would on an everyday basis because I want to play catch up, because I want to get ahead in my savings, because I want that money to work for me in compounding interest, because every day that passes, I'm getting closer to when I want to retire. So I'm putting a ton of money into savings. And also remember, this is also my earmarked funds. So the things that are super intentional to me living my rich life now. So when I talk about 28% of my income went to savings, and actually, if you add in all of the money that I put in through my employee retirement program, like straight through my paycheck, and you add that number in as income, it actually adjusts up to 35%, which is, I'm so proud of. That's more than last year, which was 32% in total. So I'm spending money now on things that matter to me now. I'm super intentional because I have all of my savings funds set up, my designer splurges, the house that we're going to buy next, the travel funds, Poppy's account, our wedding fund, our car fund, all the things that I want now. I'm not pressed. I'm not in credit card debt for anything. Everything is earmarked and I am allowing myself to live my best life while also saving super aggressively for the future. I'm super proud of that number. Again, I busted through last year's numbers, which was short and long-term saving was 24% in 2023. And then plus my retirement, it was adjusted to 32% in total. So this year I saved 28% for short and long-term goals and investing. And then adjusted was 35%, including my retirement contributions through my paycheck. So yay me. I'm super, super, super proud of that. And again, this is not about living in restriction. This is about me living my best life now. And did I say no to anything this year? I did say no to a Chanel bag, but that's a conversation for another day. So I'm super stoked about that. I'm really, really happy. The next highest number on my list is housing, of course, 25%. That's right within the wheelhouse of where it should be. I feel good about that, not worried about it, whatever. The next highest thing on my list was clothes, 7%. I actually spent 6% last year. And last year, my reflection was I had nothing to show for it. I didn't buy well last year and I didn't like a lot of the clothes that I had. But this year, I feel like I got some amazing pieces that I will have forever. Coats, sets, shoes. I'm super stoked with the clothes that I ended up with this year. So it was my reflection last year that drove my spending this year. So I spent a little bit more, but I have better things. Next on the list is travel at 7% as well. Then crazy, therapy. 6% of my income, healthy, very healthy 5-figure number, went to therapy and coaching. I needed a lot of support this year. And by the grace of God, I have the means to invest in that support because your girl needed it. Next highest on the list is my girl Poppy. She's coming in at a total blended of, let me see here, 2.5 plus 2.4 plus 4. So just under 9% of that's her insurance, her food, her treats, her vet bills, and her puppy sitter. Whenever we travel, We pay somebody to come stay with Poppy. It is money so well spent. After that, we have things like groceries at 4.2%. Let's see, Botox, fillers, lasers, 5.8%. Whoopsies. What else do we have on here? Doctor's visits, 2.5%. Gifts for others, 2.7%. There's a lot of nice numbers on here. Eating out, 2.7%. That's not bad. Justin pays for most of our meals out, though, if I'm being honest. Groceries, only 4.2%. That's not a lot either. We ate out a lot this year. So I bet Justin's budget doesn't look that great. But here's the thing. All these numbers, all these facts, all these figures, all these averages, all these percentages, I pulled all this information. And by the way, this is just for the first 11 months of the year. I pulled all this information in 5 seconds in my spreadsheet. It's already done for me. I'm obsessed. So if you want to understand where your money is going and actually manage your money, that is why cash consciousness exists. If you're interested in joining the waitlist, it's at oldmoneypodcast.com/cash. Join the waitlist. We're relaunching in January. I will get a payment plan and everything set up for you guys. I got to figure it out. It's going to be a very boutique experience, very curated, very just for our community. So I'm going to be really focused on that in January and February next year. Sorry. So this is the next question. What was the best investment of the year? Every single guest that we have that comes on Old Money says that the best investment they've ever made is in themselves. And I have to echo that, but I have to one up everybody in saying the best investment I made in myself this year was hypnosis. You guys, I can't explain it, but everything now is easier than it was 8 weeks ago. It's just better. It's just easier. This is not sponsored, okay? You're going to hear from my hypnotist, like I told you. She's changed my life. So that was my best investment this year. The next question is, what do you wish you had done more of? I love this. What do you wish you had done more of? I wish I would have spent more time in the sauna. And I wish I would have spent more time thinking and daydreaming and just dreaming and using my imagination and just thinking time. I feel like, and this goes into the next question, which is, what do you wish you'd done less of? Be on my fucking phone. But I love TikTok, you guys. I find it to be so charming. It knows me so well. It knows that I love the chow chow videos. It knows I love the business lessons. It knows I love those mini documentaries. I love researching ancient Egypt. I am a rabbit hole queen. I've always been a rabbit hole queen. I spent a lot of time on my phone this year. I'm too attached to it. So that is one thing I wish I would have done less of so that I could do more of the just thinking, being, dreaming, imagination thing. The other thing I wish that I'd done less of is being in the weeds in the day-to-day of work. That is going to be one of my goals for next year, is to get out of the weeds and more into the strategy. Okay, the next question on the list. What did you want and get? Technically, it was in 2023, but my God, just my engagement to Justin and my beautiful engagement ring and our beautiful relationship, and just that is vision board shit, ladies. I manifested him. It's happening. It's crazy. That is everything I've ever wanted. Family, home, little Poppy, obsessed. Also, this year, we needed to get a new car. We were driving my Jeep Grand Cherokee with 200,000 miles on it. She was about to croak. So we got a beautiful, amazing luxury car, and we got everything that we wanted in terms of Justin wanting his spec level, color, interior, all of the bells and whistles. And also we got it how I wanted to buy it, which was very, very, very low miles, but slightly used. I'm talking 15,000 miles, and it was a year and a half old. And we got such a better deal on the car that way. I'm so happy we bought it in my criteria and his. I got my sparkle back this year. I'm back to being optimistic and happy. And that's because I had the support. It's because I had the medication that I needed. And because of that, I've attracted a lot of new business. We had some client attrition this year, which is good, of very low paying clients that are kind of legacy clients that we were over serving, and they were undercharged just because, that's how things were back then. But the thing is, I'm leveling up very fast. I'm evolving so fast. I got on a new timeline in 90 days. So can you. But I am moving so fast. I'm leveling up so fast. I'm evolving so fast. My team, vendors, clients, everybody has to move that fast as well. So now I'm stretching to even more desirable clients outside of my normal, bigger, better clients than we've worked with before. And it feels really great. So yeah, I got it. I got it all. I got lots of new business this year. Okay, the next thing on the list is what did you want and not get? Other than healing for my best friend, I really wanted and asked for and used my words and communication to ask for an apology and accountability from somebody in my life. And that person was not able to provide that for me. That person is not a part of my life right now. And it's been very, very painful. But that is an old money queen. Okay. That is somebody who knows her standards and her boundaries. It doesn't matter who the person is, but I'm not putting myself in a situation that feels unsafe and without a path forward where I feel like I could garner some safety. So that has been the biggest loss in my year and a really sad multi-year drama that I'm really disheartened is still going on. But I asked for it and I didn't get it. And then it's up to me to decide how to move forward. And I've decided to move forward and have things be easy and fun and not force it and know that I'm responsible for myself and that's all that I can be responsible for. Okay, we're getting towards the end of the list now. The next question, what are 3 words to sum up your last year? So my words when I did this podcast last year to sum up 2023 was expansion, lessons, and molasses. I just felt like everything in 2023 went so slow. It was going as slow as molasses. Everything was moving so slowly. Trying to put a nice spin on the fact that it was a hard year and saying, ooh, lessons. But fuck, it was a hard year. Expansion was true, but it was a hard year with a lot of lessons. So coming off of that, I was like, okay, my words for 2024 are going to be abundance, ease, and romance. Was that really my 2024? No, my 2024 words looking back now, I was definitely, I would say, grief, resilience, and resetting. Resetting some old ideas, some old programming, getting some fresh perspectives on how I want to live my life. And I think that's really honest. It's not super beautiful. It's not super polished old money. It doesn't have a bow on it. Grief, resilience, and resetting, but that is what resonates with me for this year. And the reset has been a hard reset, but it's been a good reset. I don't mean it was like hard struggle wise. I mean like it was like a full fucking reset. Something happened in that 90 days that changed me. And it was me that changed me. And so now as I go into the next question, which is what are 3 words to guide your vision for next year? Easy, fun, and abundance. And, if I think about that, I get to create that in my life. How do I want to feel? I want to feel excited to create. I want to feel like I'm making magic by doing what comes naturally to me, like this, and having the podcast and having Clash Consciousness and helping women and connecting with them in community. And I've been doing that. And it feels really, really good. So as I look at what I need in 2024, which is kind of the last question here, what do I need in 2024 to make that happen? I need to communicate what I want and need neutrally and just share with people. I am in my human design a manifester, which means I have big visions. I need to communicate them. I need to put people on notice, and then I need to rest, right? So I'm trying to live into that a little bit more. The support that I also need in 2024 is I need my marketing team to help me record videos. I need to show up on TikTok. It needs to happen, whether it gets banned or not. And I need to have my beauty team a little bit more on lock. Like I need more blowouts. I need my nails done. I need my makeup done. I'm just not good at those things. And I keep trying and freaking out when it doesn't go my way. So I need that support. And then I already said that, but in order to make things easier, to make things more fun and more abundant, I reached out to my business coach and she immediately invited me on this super exclusive retreat for 2025 that I'm so excited about. And being in community with women who are also building, that are super smart, that are looking for things to be easy, fun, and abundant. We didn't start businesses to struggle all the time. Like there's better ways. And yeah, it's hard work, but we're going to work regardless. So let's make it fun and let's make it easy and let's make it abundant. So I'm really looking forward to 2025. Thank you all for spending so much time with me this year. It's been such an amazing journey. I'm so proud of how Old Money has grown and how this community has grown. You have all been such an important part of it, of like telling me what's on your mind, what you want to talk about, all the things. So if you could be so kind for my Christmas present, would you share this podcast with somebody who needs it? Because I would love the community of rich girls to grow even more in 2025. And we have so much more fun stuff coming up next year. But for now, I'm going to leave you with my holiday wish for you, which is peace, which is ease, which is fun, which is abundance, which is celebration, which is you owning your holiday and doing exactly what feels great for you and your family. I love you so much. Happy holidays, happy new year, and I'll talk to you soon. Feeling rich? I hope so. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Old Money. If you have questions you want answered, email me at oldmoneypodcast@gmail.com or hit us up on social. We are at Old Money Podcast, and I am at your service. If this episode spoke to you, inspired you, helped you, if you took a single note, it would mean the world to me if you could please just take a minute to rate and review the podcast. And if you're not doing so already, subscribe. And if you have friends who like getting rich, please share this episode with them, even if it's just on your Instagram story. And I'd love you more than Jeff Bezos loves Amazon Prime. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you on the next episode. Remember, I'm not your lawyer, I'm not your tax professional, and I'm not your financial advisor. The content presented in this podcast is intended to entertain, educate, inspire, and support listeners in their personal and professional development and does not constitute business, financial, or legal advice. In addition to that, this episode may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for products and services.